Mr. President, I am delighted to join the Senator from Michigan today to add to her comments about the replacement for now Justice Kavanaugh after he was confirmed to the Supreme Court last year. And I want to remind my colleagues about the people who spoke up during Justice Kavanaugh's nomination and the critical issues that they spoke about. Women stood up. They rallied. They marched. They made clear they do not want to go back to the days before the Roe v. Wade decision affirmed their right to make their own health care decisions. Incredibly brave survivors like Dr. Ford and so many others said they wanted to be heard and believed, not silenced. Families across the country said they wanted a justice who would interpret the law fairly and objectively without partisanship. Someone whose priority is the Constitution and people across the country, not President Trump and his extreme agenda. Unfortunately, but not surprisingly, it's clear President Trump and Republicans in Congress aren't listening to women or survivors or families, because the next nominee for the D.C. Circuit Court fails on each and every count I just listed. As we speak, Naomi Rao is enacting the Trump agenda in her role as the head of the agency that reviews and approves the Trump administration's changes to regulations impacting so many people and communities who stood up to oppose Justice Kavanaugh's nomination. Under Ms. Rao's leadership, the Trump administration finalized a rule that prevents healthcare providers from even informing patients who come to Title X funded health centers about where to go to get safe legal abortions, and places new burdensome, medically unnecessary requirements on Title X funded health centers designed specifically to prevent Planned Parenthood from receiving these funds, meaning millions of patients may lose a source of quality, affordable basic health they trust. Ms. Rao has helped put forward rules that would make it harder for members of the LGBTQ community and women to get the care they need by allowing providers to turn them away simply because of who they are or because they want birth control. Mr. President, I also want to take a few minutes to address Ms. Rao's deeply concerning comments about rape and sexual assault. While in college, she wrote, for example, and I quote, "A good way to avoid a potential date rape is to stay reasonably sober." Let's be clear. It is never a survivor's fault, ever, that someone raped or sexually assaulted them. Ms. Rao was given an opportunity to explicitly reject those comments and failed to do so. And she then sent a letter attempting to walk them back, but her actions speak louder than a letter sent during a nomination process, and her actions on this issue have been harmful. In her role within the Trump administration, Ms. Rao has helped Secretary DeVos roll back protections that help survivors get justice when they are sexually assaulted on campuses. In other words, at the same time Ms. Rao claims her views have changed on sexual assault and consent, her actions are aligned with those who believe what she wrote in college. And to the survivors I hear from, those who bravely spoke out against Justice Kavanaugh and so many others, Ms. Rao's actions are what matters. Mr. President, Ms. Rao is also listening to corporate lobbyists instead of scientists when it comes to climate and our public health, and is advancing rules that would allow more discrimination in our nation's housing programs. Unfortunately, it seems that on many issues where President Trump wants to do damage and hurt families, Ms. Rao is right behind him with a rubber stamp. Just like Justice Kavanaugh and so many others President Trump has nominated to the bench. We need judges who will do what workers and families expect of a judge, interpret our laws according to the Constitution and what is best for our country, not according to politics and what is best for President Trump. That's why I'm strongly opposing her nomination, and I hope all of our colleagues will join us in doing so. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.